To mulch or not to mulch? It's a good question. An even better question is what type of mulch should you consider? Here to explain the different mulch types is Doug Maurer, president of Brian Kyle's Landscapes of Distinction.
Hello. We're going to talk a little bit about mulches. There's two types, kind of. Your stone mulch, which I'm really not going to go much into, but that would be your river gravel, your brick chips, your lava rocks. I'm not really a big fan. There's good uses for them, but when you have perennials and other plants, once you put those mulches down, it's kind of hard for those plants to kind of work their way in and survive. Also, what we're going to talk about today is more of your wood mulches. The wood mulches add organic material to your soil and actually provide a benefit. Both mulches will control the moisture and keep the moisture in, but I'm kind of a big fan of the wood mulches. First thing you want to do, prepare your bed, go out and cut a nice edge. A lot of people will use those little plastic landscape edgings and such. They're okay, but oftentimes the winter, the frost will push them up. They come unsightly. Also, when you plant your plants, they're generally just little babies. As they mature and grow up, become adult plants, they get much larger. Oftentimes the bed needs to grow to accommodate the size of these plants. Therefore, I prefer a naturally cut edge, a little bit of time in the spring, and it'll look wonderful all summer long. Now, what do? The first thing to do is get rid of all the weeds that have established themselves in your bed. Some people will go out there and put a weed mat down. Some people will put plastic down. I'm not a big fan of plastic because how does the water get through the plastic to get down to the roots? You got to poke a lot of holes in there and hope it goes through the holes instead of running down and running off. The weed mat is good, but that's only for weeds that are already in and seeded in below that mat. The weed seed blows through our air, and when it settles on top of the mat and roots down through the mat, it's almost impossible to pull those weeds out because those roots are tangled into that fabric of that mat, and it's a mess. And not only that, if the mulch gets a little thin, the mat shows through, it looks like, well, we don't want to talk about it. So we don't want to use that. At least I don't like to. What you can do, come in here to get rid of the weeds. Pulling is a little bit old school because if you go pulling a dandelion, a thistle, nobody likes to pull thistles. You get the prickers in your fingers and it hurts for a week. So the thing to do, they've got products. You can use Roundup. That's sold in the local stores for the consumer. We as landscape professionals have the same similar products, maybe a little different concentrations. Our products, your projects, use them properly according to the label and they will work. So get rid of the weeds. The best way is to spray them, give them a few days to start dying back, and that'll eradicate the weeds. If you see a weed or two that made it through, give them another shot. Get rid of those weeds. That's important. The next thing you want to do is come in and prevent the weeds that are going to come in the future. So they have weed preventers. Preen is a product that most people see advertised on the television. That's a product you can use. It's good. We have our products. They also come in liquids. They can be sprayed on or applied as granules. Follow directions. It's just kind of like salt and pepper, putting the pepper on your mashed potatoes. You know, you don't want to overdo it, but you want to make sure you got enough there to prevent the weeds. So anyway, you take care of that. Next step, you want to make sure your mulch is fluffed up and not caked up. Now, what I have here, I went and scouted out a little piece of mulch in the flower bed. This is almost like a pancake of mulch. As you can see, it's all bonded together. What you want to do, and what I was doing at the start of this video, was to go through here. I was doing it by hand, just fluffing up the mulch, breaking this up, because you'd like the moisture to get through there and open it up a little bit. Now, what type of mulch to use? Well, a long time ago, when they were making lumber, they used to strip the bark off of these trees and cast it away. Somebody got the bright idea, we'll grind it up and sell it to landscapers for mulch. All of a sudden, it became an expensive commodity, and the price is basically going out the roof today. There's a couple of different kinds of hardwood mulch. That's what I have in a couple of these buckets. Right here we have the hardwood mulch. Now a hardwood mulch is the bark, like I said, of a tree. You grind up the bark and it's generally a brownish color. Now this is what it comes out naturally. This is a double shredded hardwood mulch. Comes in brown, okay? If you want it a little bit nicer, maybe a little bit more refined, this is triple shredded. This will break down a little bit faster. The double shred has some chips of bark, but not very large. Single shred, you can actually have slabs of bark. I don't recommend single shred. But double shred is good. Triple shred, if you like it a little bit finer, it's a little bit nicer for going around plants. Okay, some places will actually put a little bit of dye into their hardwood mulch just to enhance and keep its color, because the sun comes out, bleaches this out, and 6 weeks later your brown mulch is now tan mulch and doesn't look quite as nice. So if you sometimes get them enhanced with the dye in there, that actually helps the color throughout the season. Now there's another type of mulch with recycling and whatnot, as important as it is today. A lot of places will do some recycling. Now there's two types of wood mulch. The wood, the dead wood of a tree, is the inside, underneath the bark. If you're buying a wood mulch, which is ground up tree trunks and such, that's the better one to buy. I don't want to discourage the recycling, but in the recycling process, you can get a lot of other unwanted elements, and they're both good. I'm not going to downplay it, but the better one comes from the actual nature's best, the real tree. That's this product here. These are the ground up interior of the tree, and it can be ground up. This is about a double shred. This one's the brown dye. This one's the black dye. It also comes in red. If you like red, not exactly my choice other than for my company colors. I kind of like it there, but I don't particularly think it's a natural look on the ground. But if that's what you want, go for it, you know, and a lot of landscapes can use it nicely. So, but it's not one that's all that popular. Brown and the black are the most popular. When you spread your mulch, spread it around evenly, about 1 to 2 inches thick. You don't want to make it real thick. That starts to choke out the air. Also, when you mulch up around the base of a plant, don't heap the mulch up around the plant. Actually minimize the amount of mulch that goes around the base of your plant. That'll be a better practice for the crown of the plant, much better down the road. Also, people want to know, how much mulch do I buy? Well, get out your tape measure and start measuring and try to figure out, if you can figure out the square footage of your bed. Okay? Once you figure out the square footage of your bed, a yard of mulch will cover 160 square feet, 2 inches thick. So for every 160 square feet of bed space, you're going to use 1 yard of mulch. The other factor that comes into that is, are my plants established and mature? Because not every square inch or square foot of bed space gets mulch, because those plants take up a lot of space. Look at the space and decide, am I mulching 80% or am I mulching 20%? Apply that little percentage factor in there, knock it down a little bit, and there you'll have it. And that'll figure out the proper amounts of mulch that you need and the proper techniques for applying. Have fun.
Want to learn more? Be sure to visit www.briankyles.com, where you'll have access to all of these how-to videos.